all 91 pluses. How this works with the market here is that it's rendered 86s and under, and above 87s completely worthless in the market aside from 91s. I will be getting to that later. Now let's look at the other sets here. In the past, we had the 4x79s, which were busted. We have, for 5 collectibles, we have 2x82 plus, which are tradable, whereas the other options are untradeable. The other pack options. We have the 4x83 overall plus, 4x85, and 4x87. Because of the fact that 87 is the cheapest, it's the lowest overall that is used in the sets aside from anything else, it means that 87 is the best you want. So I don't think the 82s are going to be useful because everything is worthless unless you get an 87. So in that case, you want either the 4x85 plus or the 4x87 plus. It's up to you what choice you make on that one. Although I would stick with the 4x87 plus because it's a guaranteed 87 or above, which going by the market, the 87s are going for a decent amount. I've created a simple spreadsheet documenting the current prices of fodder in the market, and I will link it below, and I will update it as time goes on. If anyone has any questions or has things they would like me to add to it, please let me know down below, and I'll happily do that. Now let's get on to how this has impacted the market in terms of prices and how you can make coins. So if we get to the market here, in the past 85s were going for, let's say, 5,000. Everything is going for fodder prices. 85s have dropped all the way down to 1,500, and 86s are right there with them. 87s are currently the premium currency, around where they were before for the Team of the Season event at about 13K. They peaked at about 15K for fantasy, 14, 15K at their highest. Then if you go to 88s, the fact that they don't have the cover athlete event anymore, they're not that different from the 87s. So they're only at about 13,000 here, as you can see. They're basically the same price. Whereas if you look at the 89s, unfortunately, the 89s have been the biggest losers. Because this is the lowest the 89s have ever been. Because even before Team of the Season, they were at around 30K. Before the event ended, they were at about 25, and now they're at only 14. As you can see here, 90s also have crashed hard, as they've gone all the way down to that. From about 40K just a couple days ago. Whereas 91s have also been hit significantly hard. They're at about 50K. Whereas, of course, they peaked at about 100, 110, 120 during Team of the Season, but slowly dropped, especially after the 300K pack crashed the market. So what I would say is, in terms of if you're going to use a sniping filter, I definitely recommend the 87 as the most consistent. So how you would do this is see what the cheapest buy it now is. Like that, you see a card, you pick it up. I'm surprised I got that one simply because of the fact that it was up for a few seconds and I was doing that off the bat. So you do that and see if you can grab some. Both of these will be gone simply due to the fact that it was late. I'm surprised that Keon is still there. That was there for a while. It's just if you can get those, you can get a decent profit because I like sniping lower overall fodder in general, just because it's a consistent profit base. Even if you're only making a K a card, it can add up quickly. The other thing I would like to show you is the new pack that was released in the store. Because this pack has a 19% chance of a 94 overall, which is a fantasy hockey playoffs player. Now, this isn't as bad or close to as bad as the team of the seasons. However, this has caused the playoff players to crash in price. So, what I would take is that if there's a player on a team that you expect will go far and you don't have that player, let's say you have Florida going far and you think Lundell will score several goals, I would recommend you look at the market and watch out for these fantasy players over the next couple of days to pop up for cheaper prices. Because before this, Lundell, the only ones that would pop up for about 700, 800K. And now you have them popping up for around 300,000. Because most of them are really cheap compared to the 900K a million the good ones were going for. When the most expensive is Nyes, when the only ones that were popping up before were popping up for over a million. And now I think if you look long and hard enough, there will be at least one that pops up this weekend for about 500K, give or take. There at least will be at least one. For example, I picked up a Granlund within the first 10 minutes for 150 because Dallas is doing well, surprising Colorado. Granlund might score a couple goals and you can sell into the hype. That's another thing you can do. You can sell into the hype of a player quickly and make a quick profit and see how that goes for you. Because as soon as Logan Thompson was injured, a lot of people listed up their Pierre-Luc Dubois and the price went down like crazy. And in response, people started buying up Slavkovsky's and his price went up. So with this supply, you can take advantage of it through paying attention to the games, seeing what happens, and buying and selling that way. If you have the sufficient coins to do it and have an idea of what's going on. And in terms of the 89s and 90s, I would recommend to stay away from the 89s completely. The reason why I recommend you stay away from the 89s completely is the value is too low on them. And when it comes to the 90s, there are some 90s that are worthwhile to buy and sell. However, they're usually ones that are premium in name or ones that have a certain trait such as size or that sort of thing. And it can take a little bit of understanding of which of those guys will sell or not. And it can adjust. But the easiest way of 90s to look at are team of the weeks. As you can see, the cheapest right now is 40K. It's very easy that team of the weeks will pop up at the 90 overall for about the fodder range, which right now is around 20, 22K. So even picking one up at 30K and selling for 39K is easy profit. I wouldn't recommend you filter through it that you set a filter doing that because they're not going to pop up all that often. I just used it as a supplementary method for profits. So I would go to the 59-minute mark, as I always do, and I would put a higher priority on 90 overall team of the weeks because I know that people have a higher propensity to put them up for cheap. By that, I mean, I typically, when people put things up, when I refresh and see multiple cards that have been put up immediately, I will, in my head, immediately say, okay, I prioritize certain cards. So if I see two new cards have been put up, I know that I want to prioritize the higher overall typically because there's a higher chance of profit. And the 90 overall team of the weeks are what I would like to prioritize if it isn't a bigger card. Because, of course, when the 300K pack was out there, that was something that you had to pay attention to because in the seasons were all going to be put up for cheap prices here and there. Because now that's something to pay attention to with some of the things that can be put up for cheap. So there are certain names, of course, certain cards that are 90 overall that can be put up and easily be resold above the fodder price. Fiala was one that was very good for me. I could consistently sell him a bit ago for 70, 80K. He's still above that price. The fodder, I would say most Cider's another one. I would say it's one of those things where you have to play with it and see what works. I will work on creating a list of that and put it in a spreadsheet. Thing would be, of course, as I said, to pay attention. If you're doing this, would be to pay attention to the fantasy cards because you never know when someone's going to put up one of those for cheap. And to sum it off, use 87 overalls if you want to fodder filter, make consistent profit. Be aware that 89 overalls and 90 overalls are generally not going to be where you make your money right now because they aren't used for sets. So the only real purpose would be to speculate if they're going to be used in the future since they have no intrinsic value. Even though there are some people that are still buying the good 90s for their teams.